So essentially, we start from nothing. We start from ground zero. We have no book of business. We have no customers to call. We are raw. We have no distractions. We have no excuse. Let's go and get it. Our whole time, we just spent just banging the phones and knocking on doors, seeing if we can get the phone ring and get the door to swing, as one may say. You get to grow organically with your people. And so we don't lose too many customers, hardly any, because we got to start with them from the beginning. Another advantage, which I don't really like to confess, but I'm going to anyway, was I don't think I could have taken a payment my first 2 months of being an agent. I didn't know how to.
Hey, welcome back to Like-Minded Servants with me, Cecil Graves, where leaders and entrepreneurs come to get better every day. If you missed our last episode, you need to go back and listen to it, watch it. It's on any podcast platform, but also YouTube, so that you could see and listen to Chris that I have on again today, how powerful his story is, how that you don't just lottery winner arrive where you are. You've got to go through some tough situations if you want anything out of life. So if you would, stop this episode right now and go back and listen to his story, and then come right back and flow into where we left off on that last recording into today. Chris, welcome back, man. I'm so happy to have you back.
Man, it's good to be back, man. It's good to be back. Thank you very much. And I'll say it again, mate. If you haven't heard the last show, do yourself a favor. Go and check it out, because it's great stuff. My man Cecil doing some big things right here. Go and check it out to get some great foundation to today's show. So, Cecil, thank you for having me once again, mate.
Yeah, thank you. I think that last episode and this one today, we're going to do what we have set out to do, and that's go back and serve that 18, 19-year-old Cecil and Chris that's trying to figure life out. And really the key is just learning from people that have already been down that path. I want to pick back up where you had that moment with the fella that came in and prayed with you. But after these 10 years, you've been a little over a decade in the insurance industry, so you're ahead of me here. What I'm wanting to know selfishly for myself, what has changed in Chris? And like I said, we may need our wives here to really tell us. I can tell you what's changed in both of you little turkeys, but really reflection with man in the mirror. What's changed in Chris over the last decade?
Yeah, so as we came into this opportunity, where we come from, we came from the car business, right? I just posted a video saying that 80% of our production during the week as a car salesman is usually done on a Saturday. So when you walk out of that dealership on Saturday night and you walk towards your car, you've got to ask yourself the question, did I give it everything that I possibly have? And if you did, they start bringing the Brinks trucks, beep, 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 to pay you. And if you didn't, you probably go back on food stamps for the next week, right? In this business, it's a little bit different. It doesn't matter how great you think you are or how hard you work, you're only as good as your team, right? So I think I had to transition at my midway point thinking, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, I feel like I'm a 15 to 20. I'm double as good. But if you've got 5 or 6 team members on a scale of 0 to 10 performing at an 80, that's significantly better than what you are. Significant from a capacity standpoint, from an impact standpoint, from a servanthood standpoint. And so I really had to make that transition into developing and training my team instead of me going out there trying to get everything done by myself, and empower them by putting my trust in them, investing in them, helping them grow, like John Maxwell certification that we both done, right? So really pivoting and being more of a macro perspective leader than just kind of taking it more day by day, seeing the bigger picture. And I think after making the transition, it's helped us significantly as far as that piece goes. So
how big is this word's pretty powerful. I listened to Matthew McConaughey talk about it on an interview recently, and it's something this country really needs. And then yesterday I ate lunch with a good friend named Travis, and he brought it up again. But when you have that team, how important is trust for you in order to not micromanage that team and to give them the freedom to be the leaders that we want to be, and we want to see them thrive? But let's go back to trust. How important is trust to you?
Yeah, trust is everything, right? trust takes sometimes a lifetime to gain, but it takes seconds to lose.
Mm,
You know, so when
that's
you give
true.
up that trust or you or that lack of integrity, sometimes you can't get it back. You know, so we have our names on the door, right? Our names on the door, but our names on the door is irrelevant. It's the people inside the office that make that whole system, that whole servanthood work, the whole experience for the customer. You know, so I think it's big. However, I think at the same time, at some point, we've got to put our ego aside. You know,
Mm,
it's hard to empower our team and trust our team if we're getting in their way the whole time. And I think, just like you had a previous show here recently, I think me taking up jujitsu 5 years ago really helped in my growth in that area. You know, by putting your pride and ego to aside. And there's a little quote here. It says, "The big, strong, tough guy goes to class, and he keeps getting tapped by the skinny, technical guy. It begins to change him. It makes him humble. That's what jujitsu does to you. It makes you humble. And if
mm.
you don't put your pride and ego to the side and you don't humble, you're going to quit because you've got too much pride and ego. So you're not going to grow. Okay. Or you're going to get hurt. And I had to learn that pretty quick. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty strong, big guy.
You're jacked up.
Doesn't matter once you get on the mat. So I've been twisted up. I've been jacked up by guys 3-4 times smaller than me. So at some point, I'm like, okay, all right. I'm going to put my pride to ego aside because I'm not going to learn unless I do that. And I'm not going to have fun and growth as I do that. And I think it's the same thing in business too. As a leader, sometimes we have to put our pride and ego aside and empower our people and trust in our people that they're going to get the job done and offer that great experience to our customers.
And I love that you brought up jujitsu. Yeah, our last guest is a firm believer in it, the author of Black Belt Husband, Mr. Quentin. But anybody I see, I did jujitsu for a little while. Um, Anybody I see that does jujitsu, you know, Joe Rogan, Jocko, Bedros just started this, Bedros Koulian, but the discipline and things that they develop and the ego and the arrogance gets removed pretty quick because there's such a diverse group of people in there and they're all just wanting to get better together. But I found that out too, that I had to step out of the way of my team and get out of their way and let them thrive because when you start a business, we're wanting to, you know, it's our little precious. We're wanting to hang on to it. And sometimes we're choking that out when we can't trust folks. And then sometimes we don't have the right folks to start with. And that's so important to a business. And then I even see that with God. I get in his way all the time and he's trying to do work and I'm putting Cecil first. And when I get out of his way and let him work and just be a good vessel and a good servant, everything happens. I wouldn't say perfectly, but it feels perfectly to me because he's got his hand on what we're doing.
He's got a plan and he knows the beginning to the end, you know?
Yep.
I remember being a young kid when I was in England before I even came out to the States. I was wanting that opportunity, and I remember getting down on my knees and not really know how to pray. So I said, "Hey God, if you can just make me a great basketball player and just give me the skills to pay the bills, so I can get a scholarship, that would be great. And I promise I'll tell your name everywhere." You know,
Mm.
well, that's what I thought I'll be as a professional basketball in front of thousands of people and all this and all that. But I wasn't really that great when it came down to it, mainly because I didn't put the work in. However, next thing you know, I've got a State Farm agency with thousands of customers.
Mm. There's your
Lord win in
crowd.
Jesus' name for the next 20, 30 years, you know?
Yeah.
So that just shows you right there that he has a plan and it's probably gonna be better than your plan. So you may just want to just listen, shut up and just trust in the process, you know?
Yeah. Trust him and let him work. I was listening to your podcast this morning and some of your Instagram um, reels to kind of reflect and get ready. I always try to get ready for my guest if they're a social media person. You speak a lot about overcoming obscurity in the marketplace and why that became important to you so fast. Can we dive into that topic so that business owners understand what you mean by that and why that's important to you?
Yeah, so just to kind of piggyback off our last episode, we talked about us starting scratch, starting from nothing. Well, what comes with that is, you know, we've got to grow our businesses. If we don't, then we have to go back on food stamps again. We don't make any money, you know. So the question I have for people is this: is what do you think if you were to pinpoint your number one biggest struggle in business? or what's preventing from you growing or making it to the next level, what would you say that is? So I'll give you a couple of answers, right, that we hear in our industry. Not having the right people, okay, not having the right product or service. Another one is not having enough money. We've got all these different reasons that can prevent us from getting business. But the reality is you can have all the money in the world. You can have the best team in the world. You can have all the best products. But Cecil, if no one knows who you are and the services and the value that you offer, no one's going to pick up the phone and give you a call. And that's when it kind of hit me when I was walking out the gym one day and I bumped into someone from 5 years before. I was maybe in business for 2 years. And he asked me the question. This is when I had a little bit of pride and ego, just full disclosure. What do you do for a living? And I was like, are you bloody kidding me, mate? I've been here for 24 months. Like a good neighbor. I am the Jake from State Farm, and he doesn't know what I do for a living. I didn't say that, obviously, so I'm a nice guy. But that's when it hit me. I was like, wow, it's not his fault he doesn't know what I do for a living. Obviously, my marketing probably sucks, okay? Or I just haven't put myself out there enough to know. And that's when it just hit me, like, overcome obscurity in the marketplace. And so that's when I went back to the drawing board and said, how do I leverage this social media and these platforms to put me out there? Because it's inexpensive and it's in everyone's hands. Think about it. When you and the beautiful wife are watching a Netflix show, more than likely she may be scrolling for a short period of time. Well, if you show up and she doesn't have insurance with you, a good-looking man like you are, Cecil, she's not going to pick up the phone and call you right there and then. But when her rate goes up with a competitor, she's going to remember that you've made a couple of positive impressions, okay? And she's going to think of you. That's overcome obscurity in the marketplace. So that's something that we kind of took personal about 5 years ago, and we leverage social media, and we put our brand out there and the value that we bring so people can see us. And if they're ready to make the buying decisions and they think of us, we're going to make sure we're ready to serve.
Yeah, that's a super good point. Is what I coach a lot of business owners, and one of the biggest things I ask them is where's your money going? And I'd rarely ever hear that it's going into people in marketing, and those are your two biggest items that you really got to take on, because the people, the only way you're going to get those to level up or to train them, help them, serve them, not be a boss, be a leader, come alongside them, help them get where they need to be. And then you can delegate. Then you can steer the team like Tom Brady. He comes on a team and serves the players and helps the players and talks about culture. And you're growing a culture that entire time that's healthy, where people can thrive. And that impacts your community, where even people probably come in and want to work for you, ask if you have employment opportunities open because they see what you're doing on social media. They see you serving in the community. And then the marketing piece. Half of this stuff is free, right, Chris? Like Instagram, Facebook. I mean, if you boost anything, $25, $75 does a lot for someone getting a business started. So we're not talking about crazy things here. We're talking about the KISS method. Just keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, do what you can do, man.
And just to piggyback off that, a lot of people think, well, where do I start? And it goes back to one of my original questions in the first show is, what do you enjoy to do? Like me and you, Cecil, I've seen you out there doing taste testing at restaurants, giving them some speak outs, and which is phenomenal. That's what you guys enjoy to do, is check out the local small businesses in your community. And then give them some free exposure and everything like that. You know, I love to be out in the community helping out with our youth. Now, granted, I'm probably playing basketball with them and I'm probably dunking on them pretty hard, you know, which most people don't really like that, but the other half people do like it, you know. But we're having fun. We're enjoying it. Hey, we're taking some pictures. We're getting some film, and we're out there in the community making an impact, having fun. So what is fun look like to you? What do you like to do, and start there?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Define a fun item. Go there, and guess what? There's people. And what is anybody in business? They say, what do you need to actually perform and sell and do things? I said, you need hello, how you doing? You need that interaction with that person, and then everything else can happen if you're who you need to be. So thank you. I'm big on this next question. We champion this specific day each week because I believe it has weakened the average employer, the average employee, the average team player. It's taught us to shut it down. And it's the acronym TGIF. I've heard you speak about this before. I talk about it in our mastermind, Champion your Friday because it makes Monday so much easier. It's another day. Play the tape out. Why does TGIF does it bother you, or what do you do when you consume that acronym?
No, it does. It takes a lot to bother me. It doesn't bother me, but I think it's very important to make sure the mindset is correct.
Mm,
Especially if you're out there trying to grow, make an impact. Because what we do in our career is we bring value to people's lives, right? We find out what there may be some possible issues or problems, and we provide potential options to put people in a better position, right? So if that's the case, why we take our foot off the gas? So when I hear TGIF, thank God it's Friday, it's like, oh, it's the end of the week. Let's just kind of cruise a little bit through today. No,
yeah.
the grind includes Friday. Sorry if that's too loud. The grind includes Friday. Okay. All
Louder.
right. You need to be grinding every single day. And there's no difference to hump day Wednesday. I don't care if it's hump day. It's another day to help more people and make a bigger impact. So bottom line is when you sign up for a job, JOB, that stands for just over broke. That's the mindset you have when you think about hump day or thank God it's Friday. Okay. But when you sign up for a career, meaning you are trying to be significantly better than when you came in and you're trying to help as many people as possible, the grind includes Friday. And every day you should be thanking God, not just Friday. So that's how we kind of believe on that. We put it to the back of the bus right there, and we grind every single day. We don't discriminate when it comes to days of the week. We just try to help as many people as possible.
Yeah. I love that. I just feel like, there's a lot of times two different people in life, and the business owner, when he leaves his job, his job, he's got to change his entire mindset. And after a while, I think you would agree, it becomes where it's just second nature that you just flow through your week. It's irrelevant if it's a Friday or Monday or, oh my gosh, tomorrow's Monday, it's Sunday. It's like if you're doing all of that, you said a big word right then. You said mindset. And we've got to really reprogram ourselves as business owners to undo what's been done and to take the negativity out of our mind and not just take it out and not replace it with anything, but take it out like it's almost one of those chip boards where you're pulling that chip out, that bad chip. You got to have something to replace it with. And if you're the average of the five people, I've heard you say that too. I think we all understand that the average of the five people that you're around mostly, they don't have to be right there with us. They don't have to be at lunch with us. They can be me and you on this podcast and let us help raise your average. So that's super important to me, guys that are listening to this. Understand we're not knocking you and not telling you need to, you don't need to take breaks, but breaks don't need to feel like breaks. They just need to feel like you're not taking your foot off the brakes and you're rolling and it's just another day. And if you perform like that on Fridays, you're telling your team something really big that, man, he's not giving up and worried about 5 o'clock and running each other over in the hallway once we punch out, and getting to our car. Where are you going? I understand your family's important, but just make sure that you're being intentional with that last day, and it'll make Monday so much easier. You got anything else to add on that one, Chris?
No, just to piggyback on what you said, mate, on the average of the five people. I mean, that's so important. I mean, my career is made on the decisions I've made, on who I surround myself with, who I get my information from. I took early on is what is the best way to learn? Well, go back and talk to the guys that have done it for 30 years. They're so impactful what you said. Learn from them and then keep your circle tight, of positivity as iron sharpens iron. I mean, one of your good friends in your area, Mitch Muley, that's someone that I went to class with and we talk every single day. We started scratch at the same time, have that person that you can share different ideas with and then go from there and evaluate, because we always still say you're the average of the five people you hang out with. And a lot of people hear that, but they still hang out with below average people. Right. Which is fine. We're not passing judgment or anything, but if you're saying that you want to make it to the next level, you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, then why are you still hanging out with the people that are bringing you down? And you know what? It's not just your friends. It could be family members. It could be a boss, and it's good to just have a good filter, and studies have shown, even from a work standpoint or income standpoint, that if you're hanging around with a non-producer and you're in close proximity for a long period of time, your income could suffer by 15 to 20%. So if you're on track to make 100,000, you may only make 80,000. But if you surround yourselves with winners and you're around a producer close to proximity of someone who's positive, your income can increase 15 to 20%. Well, I'm sorry, mate, but that's a $30,000 to $40,000 swing, mate.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that money always brings happiness. We spoke about that already, but I've been very, very poor and I've had money. And at the same time, it's good to have a little bit of financial income so you can make a bigger impact in the community.
Yeah, we always hear what money is the root of all evil, and that's not not what it is. It's the love of money. Coming up on Valentine's Day, so we got that big love word right in here. Love of money. That's right. And that's the thing is, when we sit down, I told a guy in my office one day, he's like, I just want to, make money and I want to have my own agency one day and I don't want to let money take over. And I said, let me ask you something. Do you see these ministry partners, these T-ball teams and things walking through the door left and right? He's like, yeah. So do you want to tell them you're making average money and you can't help them? Or do you want to tell them you're doing super well and I'm so happy I can support your team? I'm so happy I can support your ministry. I'm so happy I can get you over there and help put water wells in countries that don't even have water for a village. So be happy and excited about making money because it's going to lead to helping more people that are sitting there waiting on your butt to get off the couch and start producing. So this was pretty tough now. So, I hope you're ready for it. Is your relationship with your kids pretty important?
Oh, mate. Yeah, on a scale of 0 to gazillion, man, about just 1 over gazillion, mate.
Talk to us about that a little bit, because I'm the same way, man. They're like, oh my gosh, they keep me going.
Yeah. So just to give you a little bit of back scoop. So I've got my oldest is my daughter. She's 17. And then I've got Caden, who's 14. Mackenzie, my oldest. And then Caden, who's 14. Sebastian, who's 11. And then Lucas, who's 8. And so we got a big household, So we roll, mate. We're all in sports. All the kids are in sports at a high level and everything like that. And man, divide and conquer. Me and the wife. That's what we do, mate. We're here, there, and everywhere, traveling all over the states, and just rocking and rolling. And I kind of said earlier is, when it's all said and done, I believe the kids aren't going to remember the promotion you got at work or how much money you brought home that month. They're going to remember if you was actually at the game. Did you show up to the games? Did you show up to their awards banquet? Were you there when they really wanted you to be there? And I think this day and age is so crazy, even in sports. Sometimes we can be at the game, but it's not that much. Why? Because we give them a hard time after the game, right? I heard a saying of Kobe Bryant, God rest his soul, but he went through a period of time, I think maybe when he was between the age of 11 and 12. And do you know how many points he scored for the whole summer season? How many points he scored? He scored 0 points, mate. So let's put this into perspective. One of the best players of all time went through a period of time when he was younger where he really just wasn't that good. But his dad put his arm around his shoulder and he said, you know what, son, if you score 0 points or 100 points, I'm going to love you the same. I'm proud of you, Wow. And that just puts things in perspective for me is, hey, be present, but be presently present. And that's what we do with our kids. And that's the opportunity of being a small business owner and being blessed has given us the opportunity to be there with our kids and do life with our kids. So yeah, that relationship is very important, but being there and doing life with them is even more important for us. So look, we're usually we say we're on the year by year plan, right? We're making decisions for our kids and whatever it may be. But the reality is we're really on the day by day plan, and we're trying to do everything we can every single day. And no one's perfect, right? We all fall short as parents, right? We all have times like, oh man, maybe I should have done it a little bit different or kept my cool a little bit better over here or whatever it may be. But I've been blessed with some great parents to raise me. My wife's been blessed to have her parents raise her. So, we do the very best we can and keep pouring into them and give them that vision of leadership, man. My dad told my brother before he left for the States, my dad was of a few words. He's not now, but he was back then because he's a military man. And he told my brother, he said, listen, son, don't follow from the back. Lead from the front, my son. All right.
Yeah.
And that just resonated with me. So everything I do with my boys is like, hey, be a leader today. Lead by example. Stick up for that kid that may be getting bullied, even if you get in a little bit of trouble,
Yeah.
be a leader, and just that constant pouring and casting a vision for our kids. So, they can get the old baton when we're said and done and they can do us proud.
Yeah. Yeah. When we're dead and gone, they can still serve. And that leadership, teaching that like your dad did, that created confidence in you two fellas. Or I don't know if you'd have been bold enough to do what you did. So it started with your dad, and it's legacy. What are we taking time for with our kids? Responsible um, people that God has put in their lives to create a legacy to where they can sit here one day. Maybe our sons are on this podcast one day talking about how Cecil and Chris took time for them. And winning the day isn't just about getting there with your team and making enough calls, talking to enough people, selling enough insurance. Winning the day encompasses everything. Those people that are at your house waiting on you. Which brings me to the next question. I just wanted to hear, because I know how important your kids are to you and how intentional you are. Every one of them looks just like you, little versions of you. And I thought that's awesome. Like anytime I see that with a dad, it's like knowing someone does jujitsu. Like that helps me size them up, as we said in the car business. I can kind of know where Chris's heart is, where his values are. Um, During the day with each of them, are there any non-negotiable things you do with them, like reading or games? What does your day and your weeks look like with each of them?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. With 4 kids, it's tough. One of my kids likes to play 7 sports. The other one wants to do what he just does. My daughter is ESPN top 50 at basketball, so she rolls in one direction. My son is trying to get there, but he's more of a late bloomer like I am. So it's just craziness. But I think the biggest thing is at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, we come together as a family. You know, and we spend that time together, recap the day, whatever it may be, find out what went good in their day, maybe what didn't go good in their day, and just being actively engaged, right, and what's going on. Because the reality is, days can turn into weeks, into months, into the years, and you don't want to miss out on those times. So just keeping a pulse on our kids, and being, like I said, being present. And when you're doing life together every single day, then you're going to stay engaged and know what's going on. Just to give you a little specific of what I did start with my boys, probably last summer, is actually chess. We started playing chess together.
Wow.
I didn't start playing chess until I was 20, 21 years old. But I started teaching them here, making it fun. Here's how the chess pieces move. And then I started integrating life lessons into chess and saying, hey, sometimes in life, we can't make a knee-jerk reaction. Sometimes we need to think before we move. What's the best move next? What has that person done? Are we going to be proactive, or are we going to be reactive? And then letting the boys know the ultimate takeaway from this is to protect the king. And I said, one day you're going to be a king of your household. Now, don't get it twisted. The queen's pretty powerful too, though. The queen can move wherever she wants to move. So let's give our wives
I
some
thought you
credit.
were just going to say, hey,
You know,
protect
no,
dad.
no. So the queen's powerful too, but the ultimate goal is to knock the king off the chessboard. So what are we going to do to position ourselves to be proactive and win the day? So there's so many different takeaways from that. But the crazy thing is, Cecil, the kids picked it up so quick. Next thing you know, playing against my 8-year-old, and he's making me think, mate. And that's the difference, just the resilience in this next generation. If we just give them an opportunity, they want to learn. They want to grow. They want to be challenged. They want to be pushed.
Amen to
And
that.
then next thing you know, they're playing chess against each other, and so they're learning. And they're bringing their neighborhood friends over and everything. So that was a fun thing that we started. Try to get my daughter to do it, but at first she was too cool for school because she's a big time basketball player and all that. But then on one day she decides to play my 8-year-old. I said, Lucas, kick her butt, make her pay. All right. And she's bet she can't even beat my 8-year-old Lucas. So that is something that we did together. And the chessboard is right there. We can bring the chessboard out anytime to get that camaraderie. And during that time, we can have conversations about life and everything like that. So that's something that we've done. We don't do it every night, but it's something that we've done together.
That chessboard turned into a vehicle to cultivate your relationship. So anything works. It's just being intentional with something with them. You speak a lot, and with good reason, for her being in the top 50 ESPN wise on college ladies in the U.S. Talk about how did you get her there? How did y'all get her to that level? When did that start? You know, we're big with baseball and stuff down here. I'm sure y'all have got that same deal up there, but they start them so young. How did you start that with her? And how did she get where she's at today? Like that's an incredible level.
Yeah. Well, apart from a couple of genetics and DNA that I gave, I'm going to give all credit to my wife on that one. I mean, my wife Amber has been there with Mackenzie from day one, and Amber's also coached at the highest level here in college basketball here in Oklahoma. Both myself and Amber played college basketball too. Amber was a great player. She went to a big time JUCO and she got a scholarship to play and everything. And Amber's has been pouring into her since she was a little pup. I was approached when she was real young. Hey, you should get Mackenzie into basketball. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. I don't want to get her burned out. I don't want to start her when she's 3-4 years old. So I kind of delayed the process. And it just started, man, on activity drives results. I mean, the reality is, Cecil, hindsight's 2020. We can go back and do a lot of things differently, right? To pour into ourselves and put ourselves in a better position. And that's kind of the great things about being a parent is if we can give our kids the opportunity, we can give the kids the opportunity that maybe we didn't have. I didn't have 5 gyms in my town. Okay, I didn't have a shooting gun. I didn't have a new pair of shoes or a nice Baden basketball, whatever they're called today. But these kids, the access these kids have out here in America is 10 times fold. So if the opportunity is there, then why wouldn't you maximize on that? The passion's there. And so what we did from a real young age, I heard a saying is, everybody wants to reach for their goals, right? But the reality is it's not about hitting your goal. Most people fall short on their goals. You usually fall down to how strong your systems and processes are. That's usually where you end up. And so if activity drives results and you can put your kids in a position to put in that mass activity, and that's what she's been doing from a young age, it's eventually going to pay off. And that's what's happened to her. And I think maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, the passing of the baton occurred. Amber sat down with Mackenzie and said, hey, look, we've done everything for you. At this point, at some point, you've got to take some ownership in this. You've got to want this. You've got to want to go out there and do it. And she took that baton, mate, and she ran with it. She started scheduling her own workouts. She started communicating with her trainers. She started putting up 1,000 shots multiple times during the week. And that activity ultimately paid off. And I think that's a really important thing in business. You can take sports analogies or whatever. When you're going through the growth process and you're putting all that work in, sometimes you're not going to see results. But if you consistently do it over a period of time, boom, all of a sudden you're going to blow up. And you're going to be rewarded in public for what you've done so long in private. You just got to trust the process and keep putting in the work. And that's what she's done. Done. So all credit to my wife on that. She's done great. She's coached her up. The conversations they've had on the way home, the hundreds of conversations they've had. I've just been dad. Okay, I played professional basketball. I've been there, done it. I've got a couple accolades here. I'm the one telling her good game if she scores 0 points or 100 points. Before I heard the Kobe story, I said, I'm proud of you and all that time. And I'm only there when she needs me, which is about 1% of the time. She may have like a really bad game or bad 2 games. And all of a sudden she'll come to me and I'll tell her the same thing over and over. I said, Mackenzie, when do you play your best basketball? She knows the answer. She's like, when I'm having fun. I said, did you have fun the last 2 games? She said, no. I was like, well, you need to find out a way again to make it fun.
Wow.
And then you'll be back on track. And that's what she does. She finds out a way to go out there and have fun with the team, her teammates, her coaches, and she's playing a top pedigree again. So I'm there for that 1% time, but all credit to my beautiful wife, Amber, for getting it.
2 things there that I'm listening to. I rarely, because when we think of athletics, we always go to the dad. The dad must have put them through whatever to get them there. And you took time and a step back to reflect and give all the credit to your wife, which says a lot about you. I hope she listens to this at some point. And
I'm going to make her listen to at least that section. I mean, she have it's non-optional, brother.
Right.
She listened to it.
Give me
Can you just snip that out and send it to me now? Can you send it to me now?
That's absolutely. We can go ahead and get her taken care of. The second thing I heard in one of my early podcasts was with Alex Milazzo, which was the catcher for the LSU Tigers in this last College World Series, and he talked about that too. They never focused on the World Series. Like, yes, that's a goal, but if he's not winning the day and in the moment and where his feet are at that time to perform at his best, he'll never get to the College World Series. And I think business owners do that so much because that's where the anxiety comes from is I want to be a $20 million book of business agent, $40 million book of agent. I want to be one of these big guys. Well, that'll happen if you just keep it simple and win the day. Do the push-ups and the sit-ups for the day, and then ultimately it'll be God's decision if you arrive at that point. But that's as much as you can do. And everything else just puts more anxiety on someone where they can't even perform in the moment. And that's impactful to them because that affects their team.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I've got my last question. And me and Chris are recording both of these episodes the day before Valentine's Day. And we didn't script that with him bringing up his wife at that point inside that question. And I've got my card. I don't know if you can see this for my wife tonight when I take her to dinner tomorrow for Valentine's Day. But being that we're on that topic, it makes me think of my wife, your wife, and if you would share y'all's story through all of this, if y'all met in college, if you want to kind of go back to that and how it has strengthened, because I know it has for my wife, strengthened y'all's relationship.
Yeah, how we actually met. We met in college, okay, and it started off a little bit bumpy because she wanted to play me one-on-one, okay, on the basketball courts. And so obviously me being competitive, she's being competitive. Well, we played, but the bleachers were out a little bit and she tripped on the bleachers, but she tells everyone that I pushed her just to win the game, and obviously that's not the case. Obviously I would never do that. She tripped on the bleachers. So after that initial rocky start, essentially, we fell in love and all that stuff, and cut a long story short, we're like, hey, it's rock and roll, sausage roll. And, God has blessed us tremendously, just an amazing family with Mackenzie first, because we were young, just fresh out of college, mate. Mackenzie was born, and Mackenzie was self-efficient from day one. She peed on herself one time and she never used a diaper again, so that's how much God just intentionally hooked us up from the beginning. Now he made it even with the next three. That really kind of brought me and my wife together with three boys after that, right? But man, I feel like marriage is a partnership, at the end of the day. And I feel like your future is very, very important on the person you select to marry, on how you do life. It's so important. And something I had to figure out is people always say 50-50. There's no 50-50 in marriage. It's got to be 100-100. You got to give 100% effort, 100% of the time. And just over the last 17 years we've been married, we've grown together and we've continued to walk through life together. And just this whole process has brought us closer together. Just having the support from a spouse, you can't put a dollar value on. When I was ready to leave the car business and I wasn't sure, she's like, hey, it's that time. You're ready. You can do this. When I was selling cars, when I was up for a promotion of finance, hey, it's that time. I support you. You can do this. I believe in you. And sometimes just hearing that, even though you're saying I'm going to give this, but just having that support really catapults you going forward. When I opened my insurance agency from scratch, from nothing, my wife financially supported the whole family for a couple of years as I grew that business. I couldn't have done that without her. You know what I mean? So acknowledging that and just acknowledging the fact, hey, this is 100-100. And that's the effort I'm going to give every single day, both ways. And it's been a great blessing. And the great thing about it, Cecil, is I truly feel like our best is still yet to come.
Yeah, I agree. Just those little things that they do for us, being there for us daily, and just telling you, and we're not always sharing how bad it is in our head, but it's like they're always there going, man, just go. You're good at what you do. Just go serve somebody today. I got this. Like they're always saying, I got this. I can take care of the house. Just get out there and take care of your team. And Sarah, the same for me. I definitely don't deserve her because she has stepped up from dealing with my craziness from the car business and the hours that it just pulls from your life, your wife, your family, to this business, to just keep getting up to now. We've got such a story that gives us a confidence for other couples to go, hey man, look, we did it. If we can do it, anybody can do this. Do it together. Don't do it separate. Like you said, 100%, let her give 100%, and be there for her when she can't give 100%, and when she's hurting, be there to serve her. Okay. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Chris, I appreciate you so much. I'm glad we both got such busy lives. I was like, I'm just going to text him and see if we can get it on the calendar so we can capture some of the talent on camera from you. How can everyone find you? First of all, like where can we find you on? Are you Instagram? Where's
yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Team Mathurin, TeamMathurin. And you can look me up on Facebook too, Chris Mathurin, Mathurin, mate. So you can find me over there. If all else fails, just go ahead and Google me right there, and I should pull up. There's not too many people that are black English and white teeth, as one may say. I kind of stand out a little bit, so it's easy to find me and all that part. So yeah,
pretty easy. And if you're just starting this move into entrepreneurship and you're like, well, how do I get these 5 people? Well, here's one I'm giving you. I'm giving you Chris. Like, step up, start listening to him and what he does. And Chris, I always like a lot of my guests to leave our viewers with an impact for their day. How would you like to do that? How would you like to leave our viewers that's just an impact that's been on you, or how you impact your team?
Yes, every day I try and pour into myself by getting some third-party information. I heard something that was pretty impactful, and it's basically 3 things to have a happier life, okay? Number 1 is stop regretting the past. Look, there's nothing you can do. Once it's done, it's done. So there's no point dwelling on it. That could be if you're an athlete and you had a bad game. The quickest thing you can do is move on and get on it. If you're a small business owner, get over it, move on. There's nothing you can do to go into the past, okay? It is what it is. It was what it was. And sometimes it isn't going to be what it isn't going to be. So number 1, stop regretting the past. Number 2 is stop worrying about the future. Future isn't here yet. And studies actually specifically show that the things you worry about in the future, there's an 85% chance that it's probably not going to occur. Wow. Pretty crazy, right? Yeah. And number 3 is probably the most important thing, is stop looking for happiness in other people. Okay? Stop comparing yourself to someone down the road. You're going to drive yourself crazy, because the reality is, the truth is, happiness has to come from within. It doesn't come from someone else. So number 1, stop regretting the past. Number 2, stop worrying about the future. And number 3, stop looking for happiness in other people. And the best way to do it, mate, is find a relationship with our Savior. Because if you got that balance in your life and that anchor in your life, I'm not saying like a boat in the ocean, you're not going to sway from side to side, but you're not going to be taken out to sea. That's the great thing about having a relationship with our Savior. So find out what your balance is and your rock is, and then you'll start to find consistency and have the discipline to make the things go the right way.
That's powerful. Thank you. Thanks for being intentional with those 3 things and being clear on them, because that's how we're going to leave these guys today. Okay. Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you guys. As always, thank you for listening and watching us. If you could like and share, give us 5 stars and put us a review about Chris so we can get him out there and help more people. Until next time, folks, go serve someone well today so we all get better together.